everyone, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 10, 7, and 5. If you're interested in videos about secular homeschooling and raising a child with ADHD, as well as a little bit of essentialism, you have come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to hit that little bell if you don't want to miss any of my new videos coming out. In today's video, I will be talking about the Explode the Code series. Now, we have been using Explode the Code in our homeschool since the very beginning, and it is a fan favorite around here. People love it, meaning my children. They really love it. Now, just to let you know, these are the workbooks. We have never used the online version, but I hear very good things about the online version. And if you guys are not like workbooky people, but you like doing some learning on the iPad and stuff, I think that might be a really good option to look into, so it will be linked in the description box down below as well. I think this curriculum is done so well. I think it progresses through phonics in a really fun and easy to understand way, but also like builds sequentially upon the skills that the child has learned before. If you have much younger children like pre-K or K level, go ahead and check out the video I did previous to this for the primer series for Explode the Code, which I will link up. We have here 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. I think 4 is missing or was done in a different year by somebody, but you'll get the general gist. I will quickly flip through 1 for you and then show you the sequence and how they are set up. Now this is Explode the Code 1. Explode the Code, if you turn to the very back page of any of them, has a list that will explain to you what the sight words are that are addressed in that edition, as well as the progression of books. So as you can see, you have the primers here, A, B, and C, as well as picture cards. And then you have books 1 through 8 for the series with these half books in between, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, etc. But in every book, it lists out exactly what is discussed in that book. So for example, in book 1, you have the consonant pretest and short vowels. In book 1.5, it's further practice for book 1. Book 2 is initial consonant blends and final consonant blends. Book 3 is one-syllable words ending in a long vowel, including Y, silent E, several digraphs and trigraphs. And then book 4, you have compound words, common endings, etc. So you can look here and see exactly what you need. All of the Explode the Code books are done as separate lessons that have several pages each. So you have this pretest here, and then you have 11 lessons through. Every so often you have a review lesson. So for example, lesson 5, lesson 7, lesson 9, lesson 11 are all review lessons. In lesson 1, it specifically says you have short A with a final T sound. So when you begin, you have a consonant pretest, and that goes on for a few pages to see whether the student can identify a beginning consonant sound of different words. And then you have lesson 1, which opens with A says A as an apple, pretty much as basic as phonics gets. And you have some identification for the child. You have word identification, so they have to match to the same word. And then you have some handwriting practice for that letter sound. You have to read, copy, and circle the word that they list, and here you put together letters. This activity was especially helpful to organically develop spelling skills in my kids, where they split out each sound in a CVC word for them. And then you have a couple more matching and identification pages with some handwriting practice. These are super fun. They have 2 sentences, and you have to put an X on the sentence that matches the picture. My daughter took this and did it pretty straightforwardly, but my son would write little jokes and like be sarcastic, and he like took it as an opportunity to have a conversation with the workbook, which I thought was very cute. Here you have some more handwriting practice where they have to remember the spelling. And then lesson 2 follows exactly the same format, if you can see. So you have the same sequence of activities, just with new vocab words or new CVC words. Just the same all the way throughout. The pictures stay the same. So for example, sometimes as the words get more complicated, it might be difficult to decide whether they're trying to say wag here or dog. If the child flips back, they'll be able to see that the same graphic has been used again, so it's not so confusing. So see, for here, it's wag, it's not actually dog. And here again, you can see it's the same exact dog that's used, so they have that continuity as they go through the lesson. But as you can see really quickly, the formatting stays exactly the same all the way throughout. And then as you get to the end of the book, you have sort of a post-test section at the end of each of these books. And it starts off and it has a section where the adult can say the word, where you dictate the word. And I actually didn't have a teacher edition for this ever, so I just dictated words that came from the book. And then here you have read it and circle it to complete the sentence. And you have a section here where you have to read a short story and then circle the answer at the end. So with book 2, as we said before, it moves into initial consonant blends and final consonant blends, and it is formatted exactly the same way. And you have lesson 1 with a certain type of consonant blend that you're practicing, and it moves on with word identification, word copying and identification, choosing the correct word for the picture, separating out the syllables of a word so that you can get the correct spelling, the funny questions and answers for yes/no questions, identifying the picture, like a spelling exercise where you try to remember the spelling of the word, and then it moves on. So I'm just going to flip through this really quickly for you so you can see an example of some of these pages. In book B, by the time the child is done with a couple of lessons in the first book, they'll be able to do the entire rest of the series with very little parental involvement on your part. Now book 3 moves on, and it talks about one-syllable words ending in a long vowel, including Y, silent E words, the digraphs, several digraphs, and trigraphs. And again, this one's a few more lessons than the prior volumes. This one goes to 13 lessons. It's a little bit longer. It's about 100 pages long, but the activities remain the same. So let's see if we can start at lesson 2. You have a little lesson talking about how words can transform with that silent E at the end, and then they're trying to identify where that silent E would be. Again, some word identification, choosing the correct word for the picture, writing the correct word for the picture, splitting out syllables, answering the funny yes/no questions, figuring out which caption suits the picture, writing the words from memory, and then so on and so forth with the next lesson. So as you can see, the formatting stays very, very, very similar throughout, and it's just a really good way, I think, for them to practice the same words, the same spellings, the same sounds in a very orderly progression. So like here you're practicing the double E sound, and so on and so forth. And again, just like the prior volumes, you end with a little post test here. The code 5, I'm just going to give it a quick flip through for you to see. So you can see here we have all the jokes that my son has written in. Is a 3-decker sandwich with potato chips a small snack? It says, don't eat carbs. I think he meant to say they are bad for you. Is this a trick question? All these things. So almost all of them had like extra writing and a little joke. By the time you're at book 6, you are talking about vowels plus R. You're talking about the second sound of EA, IE, IGH, and several other phonics concepts. Again, this one's a little bit longer now because you're at a higher level, and this goes up to 15 lessons, and the book is over 120 pages long. But as you can tell, the formatting does stay very, very similar to the prior books. You still have picture identification, you still have the vowel sounds and consonants broken out in syllables, you have the funny yes/no questions, the picture identification. You do start to have a little bit more complicated fill-in sentence activities, but for the most part, the format is the same. So my son actually just did book 7 in 4th grade. I think that my daughter will probably hit it much earlier. We didn't really push through. We would usually do 1 or 2 of these a year and then just call it a day. But they are very swift. They provide a really good sequence of practice in phonics. In book 7, you start to have these stories where they have some reading comprehension questions at the end that use the same phonics sounds and vocab words that are in that lesson. And that was a nice little addition, I think. They also have these crossword puzzles as a new feature. What's a lamb chop? My son does not mind writing extra, as you can see, just to make a joke. And the format stays very much the same. These books have never been fought over in our homeschool. It's one of those rare curricula choices where everyone just enjoyed doing Explode the Code. If I ever gave them free options, these always got done early because a lot of times they would just enjoy doing these. The question answer pages are funny and amusing, and The lessons themselves are short and sweet and to the point, and I think the kids really appreciated that. So this is Explode the Code. I hope that was helpful to you guys. All the relevant links will be in the description box down below, and don't forget about the online version in case that suits your family better. So as always, you guys, I really do appreciate your time. Thank you for spending some of it with me, and I wish you guys the very best day.